are a lot of ways to make yourself more productive using our technology, and unfortunately, there's also a lot of technology time vampires out there as well. Let's start today looking at email, which is probably the most crucial business tool, and it can end up being the biggest time waster as well. First piece of advice I'm going to give you, spend time managing your address book, your contact list. I know sometimes they become unwieldy and you feel like you're wasting time going through and cleaning it up. So the first thing that you have to do though is you have to go through and you have to use some sort of duplicate manager, because for some reason Outlook tends to duplicate contacts, especially when you start syncing it with other devices. So use a duplicate manager, which there's a variety of them available on the web, to go through and filter out all of your unwanted duplicates. So you keep a nice, lean, vital list for your address book. The next thing you want to do is when you're emailing back and forth with people is add them to your address book. So it's the easiest thing to do. All you have to do is when you receive an email from somebody who you want to save their address, just right-click on their address right within the email that you receive. And there you have the ability to automatically add them to your Outlook contacts. And when you do that, take a little bit of extra time. Usually in their signature file, they'll give you their phone number, their address, and their job title. Enter that information in as well. The reason you want to do this is months later, after this email is long forgotten, you're going to want to send these people an email again. And so typically what will happen is you'll end up searching through all of your filed messages to find their email address and wasting a whole bunch of time. A little bit of time now, putting their email address into your address book means that when you want to send them an email later on, it's there right at your fingertips. A little bit of time today saves you a lot of time down the road. Next tip I want to point out is take some time occasionally, not maybe every week, but maybe every couple of weeks, and go in and take a perusal through your junk email folder. You trust Outlook and you trust your other email software to filter all of the spam that you receive, but the odd time something valuable gets filed away by accident. So spend some time and browse through it. You might find a little piece of gold that ends up being a really good business contact or an opportunity that you might miss if you don't take some time and go through it. The next thing is take time to organize your email as it comes in. You know, the best productivity gurus talk about only handling any piece of paper, real or virtual, one time. So their recommendation is open an email, respond to it, file it, or delegate it. And don't use your inbox as a filing system. Now, this is one that we're all guilty of, and I as well. Now, a few seasons ago, we looked at a great piece of software called GTD, which stands for Getting Things Done. It's an Outlook add-on that really helps you with this. It sets up your folder structure so that you can defer projects and it'll automatically remind you. It allows you to delegate emails, which is one thing that a lot of us have difficulty doing, filing them. But it really comes down to your personal discipline. So if you take time to handle each piece of email just once, do something appropriate with it. Respond to it, file it, throw it out, whatever, and keep your inbox as empty as possible. You'll be far more productive. Another little tip is take some time to save email attachments into appropriate file folders. Now, you know you're going to need that attachment at some point, so why search for it in Outlook when it can be properly filed in a project folder? And no, your desktop is not an appropriate file folder. We use our desktop for temporary storage, which I'll talk about in a moment. But when those email attachments come in, file them into an appropriate folder. That way you're not searching again through your email in order to find the attachment. It's filed where you can find it when you need it. Now, talking about the desktop, I mentioned that it's not an appropriate place to store all of your files. It tends to slow your computer down and it gets very cluttered, which really takes away from productivity. Now, anything that you're working on immediately, projects that are ongoing, you want access to from your desktop instead of having to navigate through multiple folders on your computer. So here's a tip, and this is a really old tip. A lot of veteran computer users know this, but if we go into our documents folder here, and let's say I'm working on this CyberSafe project currently, all I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on that folder, and instead of moving the whole folder out of my desktop where all of the files are living on my desktop, I'm just going to create a shortcut. I'm going to leave all the files where they belong here in my document folder, and I'm going to take this shortcut out onto my desktop, and then when I want to access that file folder, instead of having to navigate through my documents into it, I can just double-click on it here on my desktop. I can gain access to the real files here at any point. I only have one version of the file that's being saved. I can open it, I can edit it, I can save it, and then when the project is finished, I can just delete the shortcut from my desktop, which doesn't damage the real files at all or get rid of them. They're still in my documents folder available to me, but now I'm not cluttering up my desktop. The last little tip I'm going to talk to you about today is another email tip, and that is about giving some organization to your email inbox. A lot of us have multiple email addresses now, but when we look in our inbox, we can have them all fold in right within Outlook, so they're all appearing in our inbox, but we can't tell by looking at them which email address has sent us which email. And since a lot of us have a personal email address as well as maybe several business email addresses, we like to be able to identify which ones are personal and which ones are business. We can do a really nice job of setting that by going under the Tools menu and going into the Organize tab. If we click on that, we've got some very simple but very powerful organizational tools right within Outlook that allow us to say use colors to organize all of our emails. So you can make different email messages from certain people or from certain accounts, just saying here from it being sent to this account, and I'm going to select my Gmail account here as the one that I want this stuff sent to. Anything that's being sent to my Gmail address is going to be in red. And when I apply that, all of the emails sent into my Gmail account will now appear in my inbox in red, so I can instantly identify which account it's being sent to. I know that I often harp on the need for you to learn more about the software that you've installed on your computer, but there's a very good reason for this. If you don't master your technology, then your technology tends to master you. How often have I heard people complaining about becoming a slave to a piece of technology? Well, I believe that's because they don't make the effort to learn more than just the basics. These tips I've showed you today, they are just the tip of the iceberg. There is way more to learn, and with a little work on your part, you're going to benefit from the effort. Want more information on the products that we covered on today's show? Then check out our website. We've got podcasts, streaming video, and a searchable database going all the way back to our first season. Check it out at dottotech.com.